Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of RCT1 Scenarios but Beautiful. In this scenario I will be once again taking on one of the scenarios from the expansions, and that scenario is Future World. Oh wait, not this one. Here we go. Future World. This one. So the scenario from Added Attractions, an expansion for Rollercoaster Tycoon 1. And it's actually set on an alien landscape. Now, you may actually recognize this landscape from Dynamite Dunes. Yeah, this is once again a scenario that's based on the template of Dynamite Dunes. If you don't know what I mean, just open up the original scenario, Dynamite Dunes, and compare the landscapes, and then you'll see what I mean. Anyway, yeah, this park has quite some fun features. Of course, there's the cratery landscape. There's this reddish ground texture. Now some fun elements that this park has. Of course, this big vertical drop coaster here. That's something that I also want in this scenario later on. I will make a reimagined version of this ride, though. Now I really like its color scheme. So that's definitely something that I will do as well. I also like the colors of the queue with the alternating red and yellow. This park also has a suspended monorail. I think we can also do something like that in this park. Something which I am going to change is the watercolor. I think it will be fun to actually fill up these craters. And yeah, there's a type of water that's actually included under OpenRCT2 official, which is pink water, and that's definitely something that I want to have. Let's see, yeah, there we go. I'm going to fill up these craters a bit with some pink water. I think that will be cool. Maybe we can also have a boat hire there. I'll see what I'm going to do with water rides. Now, I plan to have a few coasters that I don't build very often, but yeah, besides this vertical drop coaster, you will see later on in this episode what I'm going to build. Anyway, first thing I'm going to do is clear out some space here, so I will remove this version of the coaster, Thunder Twist, and I will also remove this monorail since it's very much in the way for the entrance that I need to build later. First off, going to make some alien looking foliage around the perimeter of the map. Alright, I've now made a perimeter around the park using these plants. Now it's actually quite funny, I think, how these plants from the expansions of Rollercoaster Tycoon 2 actually work really well as alien foliage, even though probably they were not meant for something like that. I guess it's just their outlandish look that makes them so good for this purpose. Yeah, I also filled up these craters with this pink water. Also made them a little bit less rectangular. So now these craters look more like octagons. I think that's closer to a circle, what you would normally see on a crater. So I think that makes them look a little bit nicer. Anyway, something that's really yeah, iconic about this park is I think its entrance, which yeah, the guests actually enter through a path over here that goes underground. The entrance path over here, you can also see it on the side here. It actually goes underground all the way over here. And here we have two sections where we would actually be able to pass over the entrance. Now I think I'm just going to dig out all of this and make a small sort of canyon where you can actually see the guests enter the park. And then over here I'm going to make the actual park entrance. Alright, that's the entrance of the park completed. Now, just like in the original scenario, we now have a path here that actually leads to the middle of the park. Now, of course, it is different from the original. I actually made it a bit deeper, and I made it completely open here. So put some plants in, did some ground texturing. Also put some of these structures above the path, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. Also some lamps. I think all in all this entrance path already looks pretty cool. I plan to actually have a coaster go travel over it in the end, but I'm not sure what kind of coasters I will use for that. Over here made a little gate once again with some of these reverse freefall coaster pieces, some cogwheels inside this building, a little arch over the entranceway, some of these alien looking plants. And right next to here we have some ticket counters here, or credit machines. I guess guests in this park would be able to actually buy stuff with their coaster credits, maybe something like that. Here's some park info, and actually I hid some entertainers in it who will sell the guests park maps and umbrellas. Now, and over here there's this decontamination gate. So guests who walk under here actually get sprayed with this decontamination goo or something. You'll have to use your imagination for that. Then after that, over here, there's just a little plaza. I think it always is nice to have a plaza after the park entrance. So I guess maybe we're waiting for relatives in line or something. Or people who want to meet up can all do that somewhere over here. Anyway, with that done, I think it's time to start working on some rides in the park. Alright, I've now built 2 rides in the park. We have this Shoestring ride called Nebula. It's basically just a ride with these bobsleigh vehicles which travels around this globe from a 3D cinema. And over here I made this suspended monorail track. The original scenario, of course, also had a suspended monorail, so I also wanted to have one in the park. Now I'll probably modify the layout a few times throughout this playthrough, so that's why I didn't rotate the entrances and exits for this ride. Because if you do that and you then modify the track, then you'll have to replace the entrances and exits because they'll disappear, and that can get quite annoying. But yeah, I think I can work with a path layout like this for the stations. So yeah, one thing I'm going to be doing soon already is decorate these stations, give them a nice look, and I'll probably also make a few support towers for the track. I might actually change out this track for a suspended swinging coaster track, just like I did in Trinity Islands. I think that will look really nice for this monorail. Now the path layout for the park, I think these will be the main paths for the park. Maybe I'll extend outwards with a branch from here. Maybe I'll have a branch over here somewhere. But I think this will be the main layout. And from here I'll branch out to some nice big roller coasters that we will have in the park. Anyway, what I will do now is work a little bit more on this monorail. And then after that, I think it will be a nice time to start on the first coaster of the park. Alright, the suspended monorail now has gotten 3 nice stations. Well, they're actually all just exact copies of each other, just with different colors of glass used for them. Yeah, I think together with these towers, this actually makes for a quite nice looking transport ride around the park. Now, something else which you could just see me do is build this new inverted coaster. Now, I was looking for a type of coaster that I don't build very often in parks, so I decided to go for an inverted hairpin coaster. But instead of using the normal vehicles, I actually use these face-off vehicles that are normally used on these inverted Vekoma boomerangs. And they actually work quite well in this situation. So I actually used a trick which I saw Mamarias use years ago in a coaster that he made. And he put these reverser elements from a log flume on this track. And that actually works really well with these vehicles, because it actually looks like these vehicles turn around here. While in fact, you may, as you see it go through this section here, it looks like it turns around, but in fact the vehicle actually flips around again right after it exits. But that isn't very obvious to the person viewing it. So I think that actually works pretty well. And further on in the track I made these inline twists, also a trick that Mamarias liked to use on the coasters when he built them like this. I think that also looks pretty nice. It's pretty silly watching this coaster travel around this piece of track, but I think it actually works quite well. So with that, the coaster now also has 3 inversions, with this last one actually being quite fast. But yeah, I think this is a really nice ride and super fitting for the park as well, since it's an alien park. So that's why a coaster that you normally won't really see on Earth will work here pretty well. Anyway, with that out of the way, I think the park could use some shops and stalls, because I'm getting quite tired of getting the prize for worst food several times now. Alright, I've made some food and drink stalls over here, also some toilets, and something else which I decided to do is to make a little stadium here. I think that will go really well together with the food and drink stalls that I made, because it will force the guests to sit down here every now and then they will actually use the invisible benches that I made here. And here in the middle I put this Dodgem ride, but with the right vehicle editor plugin I actually changed all the vehicles into go-karts. And go-karts actually work quite well as a Dodgem vehicle. Yeah, I think it's always really funny to mix vehicles in a ride like this. I called the ride Derby, so I guess it would be a destruction derby of sorts. Also put a stationary car here with some fire around it. So it definitely doesn't look like a very safe ride, but I think it's really a ride that fits the atmosphere of the park. So with that, already got quite a chunk of the park done. And with that, I think it's time to work on one of the bigger roller coasters of the park. And yeah, I think over here I want to make one of those air-powered vertical or air-powered vertical coasters. I think it will be really nice to make a big long layout that fits in this area of the park. Okay, here we have the park's second roller coaster. I called it Hadron Collider. Here you can see the station of the coaster. I am quite happy with the shape of it, how it turned out. Now, the coaster is one of these air-powered vertical launched coasters. Now, I don't use the normal in-game track for this, but rather the B&M track, just because it's much more flexible. And in my opinion, a top hat like this just looks so much nicer. It's definitely more like the top hat that was on the ride the Dunpa. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this ride turned out, and especially happy with the supports for this ride. Now over here, after this top hat, it travels up this diagonal track and does a turnaround here with a drop. Then it swerves to the side several times, passing under the top hat here, over the spinning tunnel that I made here. And finally here, another turnaround before it returns back to the station. Also made a little transfer track here. Yeah, I think the spinning tunnel is also a fun element for this ride. Yeah, I think it would definitely be fun to get launched in a tunnel like this, and would definitely disorient the riders. I also made a little queue here, of course, with some plants, lots of decorations. Just made some clumps of foliage over here. Altogether, I'm just really happy with how this ride turned out. Now, with this ride done, I think it's time to focus our attention to some other areas of the park. And yeah, we can probably just add a few more rides, and probably also some shops and stalls a little bit more away from the center. Okay, I've come up with a new kind of ride here. So basically it's just 4 platforms with these jet skis circling around them. Yeah, kind of it was kind of inspired by these rides from Zero, where you have these boats that travel around the circular platform. Normally the boats can then also swing outwards a bit. But yeah, this is kind of my take on a ride like this. Yeah, I think it looks pretty nice. I really like the way it turned out. Also with these little walkways over here. Also put a few entertainers here on these platforms. I guess they're the ride operators, or to make sure that the guests all get in correctly. Yeah, I think it just turned out really well. So yeah, I'm just going to continue adding more rides to the park. Alright, I've added 3 more rides to the park, so we now have this little spiral slide here. Nothing special about it really. And over here I made a log flume for the park. Of course it has the pink water. I think it looks quite nice. And over here I made this invisible flying saucers ride on top of the water. And I think that that's a nice way to make use of the space in these craters. Okay, I will just continue adding some rides in some of the spots we have left here in the park. And then after that, I think we can use this space over here for a final roller coaster. Alright, I've added 2 more rides to the park. Here you can see a Condor Ride that I made. Now, instead of the vehicles that I typically use, the bobsleigh vehicles, I now use these big 1950s rockets. I think they're actually perfect for a ride like this. Yeah, these vehicles are really large, but they do swing outwards. I think it just looks really cool on this ride. Now, and then over here I made this launched freefall. And what you can do with the launch freefall really nicely is give it a nice color gradient. I think this color gradient here works pretty well. Also put this decoration here on top. I think I'm also going to put an entertainer here on top. Now also added some more shops and stalls over here. So this part of the park is already almost completed. So now I'm going to shift my attention to this side of the park. I can probably fit a few more rides in here, and then finally I can use this space here to make another roller coaster in the park. Alright, I've added several more rides here. You can see this top spin, which I actually buried right here into the path. I think this provides for some great interaction with the guests that are walking on the paths here. I think this top spin would really be fun to watch. Over here, made an Enterprise. Yeah, not really much to say about this one. And over here in this area, I made this car ride using these hover cars from one of the expansions. I believe it's the Time Twister expansion. But yeah, with that, just managed to fill in this area nicely. It's nice and dense over here. And also made some food and drink stalls over here, again with some entertainers standing in them. Now, with that, I think it's time to work on a roller coaster that I'm going to fit over here. And the kind of roller coaster that I want to build is a multi-dimension coaster. Now, I really don't build these very often, so it will be fun to get used to it again. But yeah, I remember from the last time that I built it that I actually quite enjoyed making them. So yeah, I'm just going to make a nice and simple layout for this area over here. I think I can make it quite big. And this area that I have over here is definitely enough to fit one of them. Alright, let's get building. Alright, and with that our multi-dimension coaster is completed. Now, yeah, it was actually quite fun to make this layout, and did need quite a bit of tinkering to get a layout that I liked. But in the end, I think it worked out pretty well. Also did some work here on the station. I named the coaster Z. Yeah, not really inspired by anything. Well, inspired by X, of course, and so it got a similar name to that. Just naming this tracker texture. But yeah, I don't really make these coasters very often, but it is always fun to do. So did a little bit of custom supporting over here, a bit of landscaping, and I'm especially happy with how the station here turned out. But yeah, at the end of the video we will take a ride on all these coasters. Anyway, yeah, I saw we have quite a bit of space left here. I think it would be fun to do a bonus coaster. And yeah, if you look at the coasters that are available, then of course the coaster type that most screams alien is of course the Hardline Twister coaster. So now I'm just going to try and make a nice layout for a Hardline Twister coaster on this strip of land here. Alright, here we have the fourth and final coaster of the park. This is the Hardline Twister. Oh, I still need to give it a nice name. Let's just use the naming that they use for almost all these coasters, which is Ultra Twister. Alright. Now, yeah, this is the fourth and final coaster of the park. I think the park is almost done. I think the park has a really nice selection of rides. Now, what I'm going to do now is do a little bit of work off camera. Just going to add foliage here and there. I think I'll just quickly add another ride here. It won't be anything spectacular. And after that, we're going to take a tour through the park, and then we'll finish this video by taking a ride on all of the coasters in the park. Alright. I'll be back in a second. Alright, I've done a little bit more decorating throughout the park. I also added several more entertainers. So now we have 46 entertainers, which is also the same amount as I have patrons. So before we do the tour through the park, I'm just quickly going to rename all my entertainers in the park after my Patreon members. Alright, with that all my patrons have been added in the park as an entertainer. Now if you couldn't see your location in the park, because it did go quite fast, yeah, feel free to download this park for yourself and check it out. The park will be available for download from my Discord server. You can find the link to my Discord server in the video description, and it's completely free. Anyway, with that done, yeah, let's go take a tour through the park. So over here you can see the entrance of the park. Now, just like the original scenario, the guests actually enter from an underground tunnel, but I actually decided to make the tunnel here open. Just, yeah, I think this actually looks a lot nicer. And it's also fun to have several rides traveling over it. Put some of these alien-looking plants here, and altogether, I just really like the way this looks. Here you can see the entrance area of the park. You can see a little shop here. There's actually 2 hidden information kiosks here, so it sells park maps and umbrellas. And over here you can see the ticket machines. Over here is the actual entrance of the park, and I actually decided to disguise it as a decontamination room of sorts. So here there are several pipes. There's a tank here with some liquid, with an entertainer swimming in it. And guests actually all pass through this decontamination room before they enter the park. Now over here, made a little plaza. Here I made this shoestring ride which travels around this big globe here. And yeah, if you pay attention, then you can actually see that this ride reverses directions several times throughout the ride. It was actually quite fun to make. Use a powered vehicle in front and shuttle mode. Now over here I made this dodging ride, which actually uses go-karts, so kind of like a destruction derby. Very chaotic. Also there's an entertainer here trying to climb out, and there's an entertainer here standing next to one of these burning carts. So a very safe ride. Over here made this flying saucer ride, which actually sits on the water here. So I filled some of these craters with this pink water, and I also built some rides on some of them. So let's check the back here. Here we have this hardline twister coaster. Now I actually didn't really discuss it much after I built it, but yeah, the design is obviously inspired by the Ultra Twister from, I believe, Nagashima Spa Land, and that one actually has a half loop. Now this design was inspired by a recreation of that ride that Skifa once did in a contest several years ago, and I liked it so much that I tried my own hand at it. And obviously I now have access to the hybrid coaster, which I think is a track type that actually works quite well together with the hardline twister coaster track. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way this turned out, and I really like the supports for this ride. Alright, there's also a transport ride traveling throughout the park. It's this suspended monorail. Yeah, I made all these towers for it as custom support. I just like the way how it's visible throughout the park. It just travels over a lot of paths next to a lot of rides, so definitely some nice interaction there. Over here we have a launched freefall ride. I always like to give them a bit of a color gradient. That always works nicely for them. Over here I made a log flume. I think it looks pretty cool with the pink water. Actually very bright. Now over here we have the first coaster that I built in the park. It's this inverted coaster, and it actually uses these face-off cars, and I put some of these reverser elements on it, so it actually looks like the cars reverse direction on them every time. So they don't actually reverse direction, but the effect is convincing enough in my opinion. And I also put some of these elements here. They're actually hidden inline twists, and now it looks like these cars actually swing around this mini suspended coaster track here. I think it's a pretty cool effect. I took this from Marias, who actually built a few coasters like this. But yeah, really fun design, I think. And here's some more shops and stalls. I also built this Condor Ride here, which uses these these rocket cars. I think it's really fitting for a park like this. Let's speed it up a little bit so we can see it in action. Yeah, I think it's really cool how these cars swing outwards. These cars are huge. I think it works pretty well for a big Condor Ride like this. Over here, I made this air-powered vertical launched coaster. You can see the station here. The vehicles get launched through this spinning tunnel here. There's also some of these lights on it. Here you can see it go over the top hat. And here there's this big turnaround. And then it travels under the top hat again. Then over the spinning tunnel. Then finally another hill before it returns back to the station here. Now, also made a little scene here with some of these entertainers in this crater with a ball. I thought this was pretty funny. Over here, I built a little car ride. So yeah, it goes on with this decontamination theme. So the stuff is connected through these pipes. The ride's actually called Mission Decontamination. Also put some of these log bumps here on the track. But yeah, just decorate with lots of plants. I think it's a funny little layout. Over here, I just put some small thrill rides. You can see a magic carpet here. Enterprise, a top spin which I buried into the ground here, so it sits in the middle of this path. I think that provides some great interaction once again. And over here I built this multi-dimension coaster. No, I don't build them very often, but yeah, I think it's really fitting for a park in this futuristic alien theme. I think with that theme, this ride is actually fits in it very well. So yeah, just quite a standard layout, what you could expect for a ride like this. Yeah, the amount of elements that you have for building a ride like this isn't too great. But yeah, I think all in all, it did become quite an interesting layout. Also tried to do the seat rotations pretty realistically, so the guests aren't upside down for too long of a time. So yeah, I think this layout in the end worked out quite well. And I forgot to mention this ride. Here we have a Jetski Ride, also another Shoestring ride. It actually makes these jet skis rotate around these platforms. So another really fun ride in my opinion. So that was the little tour through this park. I made a lot of rides which I don't make very often, and the rides which I do make more often, I try to do them in a bit of a different way. And yeah, I am really happy with how this park turned out. It was actually really fun coming up with rides to use in this park and to decorate them in such a way that they would fit this theme. Now, I want to give a big thanks to all my supporters on Patreon, but also all the people who are subscribed to my channel and who watch all my videos. I just want to thank you a lot. Let me know in the comments what you think of this park. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like. It would really help out my channel. If you want to check the park for yourself, you can download it from my Discord server. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and now let's go take a ride on all the coasters of the park. That's all the talking I'm gonna do for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.